today we're doing hip openers, and I hear a lot in the yoga world about hip openers have a lot to do with emotional stuff, and we hold everything in our pelvis, and to some extent that is true. One of the things I like to think about is that the pelvis is a vessel, and so we incubate things in that vessel like creativity and awareness and mindfulness. All kinds of things grow in here. So to really be thinking about, as it seems to be approaching spring in New England behind us, to be thinking about what you might be incubating, what you might be giving birth to, both literally as well as figuratively. So let's begin our dropping in. And just taking a moment here on the second highest end of the block. And because we're looking at the hips and the pelvic vessel, really allow the hip flexors to deepen in. So feel the attachments drop. You can even put your thumbs there. And here on the second highest end of the block, if you feel them popping up, you may be a little bit rounded in the low back. So explore that connection. And then either keep the hands just resting on the thighs, or you can bring your fingertips back to the block or to your heels and just really begin to connect with the sitting bones, which are in some ways you could think of almost as the bottom of the pelvis, top of the femur, all kinds of things attach here, and also on the front. And then letting your eyes close, awareness dropping inward. Beginning Ujjayi breath, and as we usually do, imagining there that at the back of the throat there's a little bit of a narrowing right at the center, just as though your throat were a violin, narrow in the middle, wide and expansive at the top and bottom. And then really feeling as you breathe, those vertical strings of the violin are like the fibers that communicate with the resting part of the nervous system as well as the activating part. And what makes that sound of Ujjayi, that wonderful concerto of Ujjayi breath, is the bow of the violin strings. We inhale and we exhale. And that inhale is like a bow drawing across, the exhale also. And you may even find that just as with a violin, the bow in one part of the stroke, the inhale, makes a slightly different sound than it does on the other part, the exhale. And then growing taller, really allowing the sitting bones to be the tree roots, the earth of your pose, lengthening up through the crown of the head. And then we'll begin to really work the very center point of the pelvic floor, where Mula Bandha, that root lift, lives. And to find Mula Bandha, measure the space between the anal sphincter muscles and the urogenital muscles. So the anal sphincter muscles that would stop a bowel movement from happening right at the back of the pelvic floor. Urogenitals all the way in the front of the pelvic floor. And then we're aiming for the halfway point. Really allow your awareness to drop in there. Follow it with the breath, so that breath and awareness track one another. And then into that alchemical mix of breath and awareness, we'll add action. So on the next 10 exhales, you're taking the muscles at the center of the pelvic floor, right at Mula Bandha, and gently drawing them upwards. So rather than a grabbing and clenching action, gentle engagement on the exhale, letting that engagement mature at its own pace. On the inhale, you can release about half of your engagement. On the exhale, you can ignite and lift. And then over the next several exhales, adding in lower Uddiyana Bandha, so that navel lift. And the lower part occurs from the pubic bone all the way to the navel, starting to take the muscles of the very deep abdomen, draw them a little toward the spine and a lot up toward the ceiling. Stronger as you exhale, a little released as you inhale. And then from the navel to the lower rib band, if you are very mobile at the lower rib band, you can bring your hands there and draw that rib band a little up toward the ceiling. And then just under where the hands are, you'll feel a suctioning coming up, a lifting, so that upper Uddiyana almost sits on the shelf of the lower ribs. On the exhale, really igniting Mula Bandha, lower Uddiyana and upper Uddiyana. And on the inhale, retain half of what you've engaged. And then feeling the heat that generates the lymphatic flow, detoxifies the body, balances the nervous system, so that bandha work, just as important as breath, and also for grounding the emotional body and energizing it at the same time. And then as the bandhas draw the energy upward, we'll begin to open together our gateway to prana, to life force, working on the shoulders, neck, and head. So taking the pads of the middle and ring fingers of each hand, bringing them to the lymph nodes right at the front of the throat. And your index fingers can curl in toward the palms so that the fingers are more relaxed, a little bit mellow. And then using the fingers as the gentlest of guides, we'll start to go up the stairs backwards. So letting the throat go very, very long and tall. And then when it's reached a height where you feel the collarbones start to lift, find the place on your upper spine where the upper spine and the neck begin to intersect. It's like a second tailbone. And you'll tuck that second tailbone a little toward the front wall. Totally stabilizes the shoulders. Really feeling that area grow tall. It's just like the tailbone in the pelvis, and that tucks as well. And then keeping that tuck, go up the stairs with the head, and then a little bit back to the wall behind you with the throat. Nice, Roseanne. So here the shoulders don't move. The head goes a little bit up, a little bit back. And then notice a release in the jaw, a sense of relaxation there. And then here tucks a little, this lifts a little, nice. And then lengthen up, good. And then up again toward the ceiling, and a little bit toward the wall behind you. And then feeling that gateway open and allowing your breath to receive that opening. And then coming off the block for just a moment, I'm going to stack two. Yeah. There we go, yeah. And then sliding your finger pads around to the back of the neck, finding the space where the head and the neck intersect, right at the occiput, and then doing a little bit of traction. So drawing it up toward the ceiling, and a little back to the wall behind you. Not too much muscular action here, just the gentlest of hints as to where we're going, what we're opening. So that this gateway to prana, just like the vessel of the pelvis, opens gently and in a gradual way. There's a lot of lymph back here too, so we're enhancing that lymphatic flow together. And then releasing slowly, allowing your hands to float down to your heart. Feeling the breath in your body, feeling awareness firmly rooted in the body. And from that marriage of breath and awareness, form an intention for your practice. And just reflecting on anything you'd like to work on in your practice, here on the mat or beyond the mat. Even if it's just a visceral sense of what you're incubating, what creative and imaginal elements are growing and developing, the awarenesses that are being seeded, allow that to be part of your practice. And then together we'll translate our incubation, our breath, and our awareness into sound, taking a long Om, inhaling. Releasing the head to the heart, the mind to the body, and then slowly transitioning your eyes partway to open. And we'll do a little bit of breath work together. So if you're comfortable seated in Virasana, you can stay. But if your body would prefer, you can come off and sit cross-legged. And since we are doing hip openers and we will be doing external rotation, you could get a baby head start if you sit cross-legged. A head start in the yogic sense, non-competitive head start. All right, and so today we'll do alternate nostril breathing. Make a mudra, or animal mudra, by joining the middle and ring fingers with the thumb. Make sure that animal mudra is working. And then taking the thumb onto the right nostril, middle and ring fingers onto the left nostril. Before doing our pranayama, let's go up the stairs a little and back to the wall behind us. And then begin to breathe in and out gently, just through the nose, nasal breath. And holding gently a little higher up. And then exhaling through the nose. We'll take a trial run together. Hold the right nostril closed. Inhale through the left, about a count of 3. Hold at the top for 6, and if you wish, engaging Mula Bandha, that pelvic floor lift. Then open the right nostril, slow measured exhale, about a count of 6. And then reversing direction, inhale for 3 through the right. Hold at the top, ignite Mula Bandha, draw the energy upward. Then open the left and slow exhale for about a count of 6. And we'll take several rounds together. Inhaling left, 2, 3, and hold. Engaging Mula Bandha, draw the energy upward. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale right, 2, 3, and hold. Igniting Mula Bandha, but keeping the flexors soft. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale left, 2, 3, and hold. Engaging Mula Bandha, readjusting the head. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale right, 2, 3, and hold. Engaging the root lock, keeping the eyes relaxed. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale left, 2, 3, and hold. Mula Bandha engages, draw the energy upward. Exhale, right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, right. 2, 3, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, left. 2, 3, 4, 5. Last round. Inhale, left. 2, 3, and hold. Engaging Mula Bandha, feeling the throat adjust. Exhale, right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, right. 2, 3, and hold and engage. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And exhale, left. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Releasing, and then just to clear the nostrils, we'll do our pig pranayama. So opening the nostrils, inhale gently through the nose, exhale gently through the nose, just allowing the nostrils to open. And then bringing the hands back to the heart. Breathing here, moving back into Ujjayi breath. And that's just allowing several rounds of breath for your brain to absorb the benefits of our breath work. For many people, it can energize the mind just a little, and for many, calming, relaxing pranayama. And bringing new length to your inhale and to your exhale, weaving back in the bandhas. On every exhale, strong engagement of Mula Bandha, lower Uddiyana and upper. And then very slowly releasing, taking the legs and then just bringing them wide, just enough to come up. Fingertips back behind you. And then we'll really work on our foot engagement. So Pada Bandha here. Stepping your feet mat width apart. And this is especially helpful for knee injuries, low back stuff. So your feet go right to the side edges of the mat. Pretty wide stance here. Line up your heels and toes, good. And then take the middle and ring fingers of each hand and bring them to the inseams of your feet. So right where the heel meets the arch, we draw a little up toward the ceiling and out toward the side walls. Right at the center of the arch, draw up toward the ceiling. And then out toward the side walls, and then just below the big toe mound, lifting up and drawing out. And then the toes also lift and free themselves too. If there's any toe lint from your winter boots, let that out. And then just resting the forearms here for a moment, really feeling the bandhas start to engage, and then we'll come into our iso. So bringing the fingertips to the backs of the knees, heels of the hands to the outer knees, lift the shoulder blades up a little, and then break the knees out against the hands. Allow your sitting bones to tilt a little up toward the ceiling so you get some flexion in the joint space. If that flexion gives a little tension in the hips, you can a little bit activate Uddiyana, and that tension should release. 2 more long breaths. I know we've been down for a while. And then let the toes skim the mat. Sometimes they can lift up a little bit much. And then hands coming to the heart, inhale. And on the exhale, come up to a thunderbolt-like stance. So hips are a little bit back of the shoulders. Lift the pubic bone up toward your heart. And then the second tailbone in the upper spine. Tuck that. Allow the throat to draw up and back. And then inhale here. On the out-breath, let your heart draw to the right wall. Hips go back the opposite way, so there's a corkscrew effect in the body. Just really feeling the breath and bandhas resonate. And then inhale, open out a little bit more, and on the out-breath, let the bandhas bring you back to center. Use your hands to lift the heart. Inhale here. And on the exhale, heart goes a little bit to the left wall. Hips go back the opposite way. And then really feeling the bandhas holding you in place. The chin is directly over the fingertips. Last 3 breaths. And then inhale, open out a little bit more. On the out breath, let the core bring you right back to center. Inhale, drop in. Feel that springing at the centers of the soles of the feet. And exhale, hop the feet together. All right, shake out the legs a little. And then again, thinking about this pelvic vessel, which is grounded in the strength of the bandhas, so that we open from strength, activating your foot bandha, pada bandha, all 3 parts of the inseams lifting and drawing out. Then connecting that with your breath to mula bandha. And then mula bandha to lower uddiyana. You can move around a little and feel how that connection allows you to move. It's fluid and yet strong. And then lower uddiyana to upper uddiyana, just under the lower ribs. And then sometimes the bandhas cause the head and the neck to contract a little. So releasing up and back. Nice. And then allowing the hands to release for sun salutations. Inhale, raise the arms, lift the heart. As you exhale, hands come to the heart, slowly bring it down into forward bend, Uttanasana. Then on the inhale, let your heart lengthen toward the front wall. Exhale, bend your knees and hold. Set your way into the right foot, ignite the bandha there. Inhale, extend your left leg into the air behind you. And hold it there. Now today, balance on your left fingers. Take your right hand to the ankle of the right foot. So a little different than usual. Straighten that right arm all the way. Yep, like you're trying to pull that right foot up to the ceiling. And then draw the foot forward. So it's a little isometric. Arm stays super long, that right arm. And then really allowing the right sitting bone to draw up so you open the hip joint. Inhale, prepare the bandhas for a transition. Exhale, slowly track it back into lunge. Nice. And then from here, dropping in for 3 breaths, allowing your feet to be hips width apart. Nice, and then inhale, palms to the mat. Let's go mat width apart in the hands today. Exhale to high plank pose. Here, if you wish, you can bring your knees down to the mat, especially if you're nursing an elbow, shoulder, or wrist issue. Otherwise, shoulders directly over the hands. And then staying in a plank. Inhale, draw forward an inch. And exhale, back an inch. Lift here. Inhale, forward an inch. Keep the core going. And exhale, back an inch. Keep the lift. Good. Inhale, forward. Nice. Keep the lift. And exhale, back. You'll feel it a lot. Inhale, forward. Nice. Exhale, back. Good. Then inhale, lift up from the core. And exhale, slow transition all the way back to downward dog. Taking your time. Nice. Really working from the core. And then from here, moving into our knee circles. So draw the left knee in toward your chest. And then again, thinking about the pelvic vessel opening gently and gradually. Do circles several times in each direction, but really feeling the core anchoring that opening. Nice. And then beginning to draw back to center. Tilt the sitting bones up to the ceiling. Inhale here, ignite the core. And on the out breath, let the bandhas bring you into lunge. Good. Inhale here, tiny lift up in the hips. On the exhale, float the back leg slowly in the air and set it next to the front foot. Inhale, lift and open the heart, long spine. Exhale, melting over the legs, forward bend. Then igniting the feet, connecting to the bandhas. Inhale, draw all the way up to standing, arms overhead. And exhaling right back to center. 3 breaths here, really feeling Pada Bandha engage. Breathing it up into Mula Bandha, then Mula to lower Uddiyana, lower to upper, and then reopening the gateway to prana. Release the arms. Inhale, arms and heart lift. Exhale, hands to the heart. Slowly bring it down into Uttanasana, traveling from the bandhas. Nice. Inhale to a long spine. Let the heart bloom open. Exhale, bending the knees and hold. Bring your fingertips to the mat. Set your weight into the left foot. Ignite that bandha. Inhale, expand the right leg into the air behind you and hold that expansion. Then bring the left hand to the back of the ankle and holding the back of the left ankle, straighten that left arm. Lift your heart up to the ceiling and then draw the ankle toward the front wall, and at the same time draw that left sitting bone up to the ceiling. You guys feel the hip joint there? Should take it right into the joint space. And then we get to breathe into that space. You can bend that standing leg, yep. And then inhale, prepare the bandhas for transition. Exhale, take it slowly back into lunge. And dropping in for 3 breaths. And then inhale here, palms to the mat. On the exhale, take it to high plank and hold it there. Now in high plank, we'll do a little variation we haven't tried before. Take your heels halfway to the left. Yeah? And then moving funky high plank. Inhale forward and exhale back. Really feeling the left waist lift. Inhale forward and exhale back. One more. Inhale forward and exhale back. Nice. And then back to center. Take it to the right. 3 more if you can. Inhale forward an inch and exhale back. Inhale forward and exhale back. Nice. Really work that right waist. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Is that 3? Yes. And then back to center. Inhale, lift from the core. Probably felt like 6. Exhale all the way back to downward dog. And then preparing your knee circles on the right side. So that right knee draws in toward the chest. And there's a sense of expansiveness as you draw the circles, really feeling the opening, but sustaining that opening from the core. It's like sustainable farming. We open and harvest what's growing in the pelvic vessel, but coming from a place of strength and stability. Keep this stable and then go. Yeah. Ooh, you feel a crunchy? And then back to center. Prepare the body for transition. Inhale, find the bandhas. And on the exhale, fire the bandhas. Slowly take it forward into lunge. Inhale here, little lift in the hips. On the out breath, really use the core to float that back leg in the air and set it next to the front foot. Inhale, lift and open the heart, long spine. Exhale, melting over the legs, forward bend. And then from here, bend your knees. Ignite the feet, drop your butt, and slowly take your hands onto your heart for Utkatasana. We won't stay exactly here in Utkatasana, so hands can come to the abdomen. Set your weight into the right foot, really ground that foot bandha, and then just lift up in the opposite leg, and then we'll do an isometric. So your left knee draws in toward your hands, either palms down or palms to the side, whichever feels easiest. Lift that leg up into your hands, but with your hands drop it down. So again, right into the joint. I'm going to take it halfway down, using the iso all the way, adjusting your throat. You can feel the iso change a little, and then a little bit up. Nice. And then slowly release, lift a little, and coming back down. Inhale, drop in. On the out breath, flow up and over the legs, moving into Uttanasana. Then on the inhale, let your heart lengthen forward. Exhale, bend your knees. Hands to the abdomen, lifting back into Utkatasana and preparing for the other side. So coming onto the right toes, and then slowly lifting that right knee. And then doing an iso, and just keeping in mind that this side might be a little different. So finding a way to happily move into your iso, and then we'll take it down. So keep that pressure, coming a little bit down. Nice, really going into that joint space. And then back up, chest and throat stay open. Release the iso. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower all the way in. Now inhale, drop in. Exhale, flow up and over the legs, moving into Uttanasana. Then inhale to a long spine, let the heart look forward. Exhale, bend your knees and hold. Those of you that like to jump into high plank, bring your palms to the mat. We'll hold together for several breaths. If today is a lunge day for you, set the weight into the right foot, ignite the bandha there. Inhale, expand your left leg into the air behind you. And on the out breath, float back into lunge. Lungers, get ready. Jumpers as well. Inhale, find and ignite the bandhas. On the exhale, we'll take it up and back to plank. Inhale here at the top. On the out breath, come forward and a third of the way down. Hold it there, puff the throat up. And then inhale, upward facing dog. Go up the stairs and backward with the head and throat. And then on the next exhale, let the core bring you all the way back into downward dog. Draw your left knee in toward your chest. Take a deep breath in. And on the out breath, slowly float forward into lunge. Really use the bandhas. Pivot your back foot flat on the mat. And then angle your back toes sharply toward the front wall. Bring your feet hips width apart. And then hands come to the abdomen. On your next breath out, lift up into warrior one. It's been a long time for this variation. So look down your mat, see that your hip flexors are pointing forward. And then lift up your back heel for a moment. Come down on the outer edge of that back heel. And then feel your low back. If the low back is really dipped, take it up from the pubic bone. Outer edge of that back heel engages. Nice. Hands up at the heart for this one. And then really lift all the way up through the inner flexors of that back leg. Spread all your toes. Feel the expansiveness all the way up the leg bone from the foot, all the way to the hip. And then inhale here, long spine. Exhale, draw halfway down. Inhale, slow release fingertips to the mat. Lift the back heel, come into lunge. Inhale, ignite the core, and on the out breath, take it up to high plank pose. Either lifting up to downward dog, or on the out breath, bring it forward and a third of the way down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Then keep the chin parallel, draw the throat back. On the out breath, take it all the way back into downward dog. And then here, draw the right knee in toward the chest. Take an inhale, prepare the core. And on the out breath, let the core draw you forward into lunge. Pivot your back foot flat on the mat, adjust the feet hip width apart. Angle your back toes sharply forward. And on the out breath, hands to the abdomen, come up to standing. Do a little lift in that back heel, and then coming down on the outer edge, slowly take that left hip toward the front wall. And then once you've done, really feel the outer seam of that back leg engage. And then draw all the way up through the inseam. Nice. And then here, either take the hands to the heart or arms out to a T. Shoulders draw back lightly. And then when the shoulders squeeze back, head goes up and back. Nice. Then feeling the expansiveness in the front body, but try to root that right from the pelvis. Do a little excavation. You can even rotate the hips a little Can't believe we're filming this one. Do the little vinyasa in the pelvis. And then inhale, release, hands coming to the heart. Exhale, draw halfway down. Inhale, full release, fingertips to the mat. And then exhale to high plank pose. Either take it up to downward dog, or on the out breath, bring it forward and a third of the way down. Then inhale, upward facing dog. Lift and expand the throat. Exhale, slow transition. Taking it back, use the core all the way to downward dog. And then here, allowing this time to tilt the sitting bones up to the ceiling. So we're deepening the flexion in the hips and then breathing into that flexion, allowing it to resonate through the body. This is Shambhala neck. And then slowly from here, draw that left knee in toward the chest, tilt the sitting bones up to the ceiling, take a deep breath in, ignite the core, and on the out breath, come forward into hanging plank. 3 breaths here. Track that left knee a little wide, and then inhale, lift, exhale to lunge. Here in lunge, come on the tall end of your block and take the block under the right shoulder, resting the fingers lightly there. And then bring your left thumb into the crease of your hip. You'll come a little bit up for a moment. Draw that hip down toward the mat, so we're creating space. And then slowly coming back into your lunge. Take the heel of your left hand to the outside of your left knee. And now that we've created that space, drop your left hip down, lift the back one up, and then press your knee into your hand into your knee. Nice. 2 more breaths. Make sure that the feet are hips width apart. And at any point here, you can draw your back knee down to the mat if you'd like. Go a little wider in your feet there, yeah. And then inhale, reach out long through the right arm. Exhale, use your core to flow across the body. Take the right elbow to the outer left knee. Now press your palms together lightly. If your mind has been a little bit wiggy lately, focus your gaze on your left foot. Ignite the bandha there. Otherwise, gaze directly at the left wall, just to protect the neck spine. Throat goes up and a little bit back to the wall behind you. Last 3 breaths. Untwist a little in the upper body, and then use your core here. There we go. And then carry length there. That's it. You feel a difference? And then inhale. Turn slowly. Look down. Release. Bring your fingertips to the mat. Hold here in lunge. Yep. And now either take blocks for half standing splits, draw them a little forward, or using the fingertips, walk forward a tiny bit. Inhale, secure the left foot bandha. Oh, you guys are in a hurry today. On the out breath, keep that foot bandha, transition all the way forward, half standing split. And then resting your right fingers lightly on the block, take the heel of your left hand to the outer flexors, and then draw those flexors a little down toward the floor and back to the wall behind you. Nice, Hank. And that will lengthen the left side body as well as open the flexors. Carry that length all the way through the back of the neck. And then let your pelvis kind of flex up and over your standing leg. So it lifts up, draws over, and you get a little extra flexion. Keep your occiput long and happy. Now that left hand slides down your leg, catches the inside of the knee, fingertips to the back of the knee. Bend that knee, lift the lifted leg up, and on the next out breath, transition back into lunge. Nice, and just bring your feet mats width apart. We'll drop into our wide-legged lunge. Inhale, reach out long through your left arm, and then exhale. Take that arm to the inside of your left leg. If the hips this morning are still asleep, Take blocks under your hands and bring this foot all the way to the edge of the mat, back foot as well. It's a super wide lunge, yeah. And then take your hands on blocks, yeah. And then as you drop in, Adam, let that part of the joint draw down, yep, no pain there, okay. And then spread all your toes so you keep that knee really anchored through the foot bundle, okay. Last 2 breaths, dropping in as far as your hips would like for the moment. And then slowly coming up onto the tips of your fingers. If the back knee's been down, curl the back toes under, lift that knee. And then inhale, palms to the mat. On the out breath, bring it all the way back to downward dog. One leg optional. And using both sides of the core, whether you're in dog or the leg is lifted. And then slowly lower that left foot down to the mat. Draw the right knee in toward your chest. Ignite the core. Feel the heart expand. And on the next breath out, bring it forward into hanging plank. 3 breaths. Some of you are trying to get out of that hanging plank, which I can empathize with. And then inhale, lift that knee, and exhale, float to lunge. Take a block on its tallest end under your left shoulder. And then come up a little high into your lunge. Take your right thumb into the crease of your hip, fingers to the outside of that thigh, and really rolling that thigh flesh down toward the mat. And moving the outer hip flexors out of the way. Good. And then coming down onto the block, a little further in. Take your hand to the outside of the right knee. Keep drawing that right hip down, but lifting up through the left psoas, left side of the waist. Good. Isometric here between the hand and the knee. Take that back foot a little to the left. Good. Lift here. And then preparing the bandhas for transition. Inhale, reach out long through the left arm. Exhale, travel across your body. Take the left elbow to the outer right knee. Press your palms together. Either focus the gaze on the right foot bandha to calm and ground the mind, or on the right wall. Nice. And then inhale. Turn your heart toward the mat. Slow release. Fingertips touch down. And then blocks go in front of you. And the blocks are there to keep the torso long and really access the pelvis differently. Set the right foot bandha into play. Inhale, engage and maintain that foot bandha, and exhale into half standing splits. And then the right heel of the hand comes into the outer part of the right flexors, draws them down toward the mat and back to the wall behind you. Take your pelvis, lift it up and over the standing leg. That's it. And then really lift it up through that right leg so it can kind of crown on top of the femur bone. Nice, long, long occiput. Puff your throats. Good, good, good. And then slowly slide that hand down your leg. Catch the inside of the right knee. Keep that, yeah. And then bend that knee. Lifted leg is tall. On the out breath, slowly track back into lunge. And widen your lunge. Extend the right arm out and take it to the inside of the right leg. So sometimes it's helpful to have blocks on the low end. Again, it's a super wide lunge. Feet are on the side edges of the mat. And then we're dropping in evenly on both sides, if possible. And then watching the right foot. So the bandha is still engaged there. So you're dropping in as happy and free. Mm-hmm. I want to feel a little of that. Yeah. And then pin your knee into your side a little. Yeah. Feel how that's kind of now out of the way. Good. And then when your body is ready, slowly coming onto your tippy fingers. Drawing down through those right hip flexors, good. Inhale, palms to the mat. And on the exhale, slow transition back, downward dog, one leg optional. Keep your core engaged. Both sides of the waist lifting. And then slowly lower that right foot down to the mat. Either stay as you are in downward dog or come into block asana, child's pose with the block under your forehead. But still keep the bandha and breath vinyasa super dynamic. Walk the arms long, a little wider than shoulders width apart. And then as you ignite the bandhas on the exhale, a little stronger ignition. As you draw the breath deep into the pelvis, and reconnecting with your intention for practicing, with that emergence of creative potential, emotional potential that we house in the pelvis. And at your own pace, when your body is ready, curl the toes under, take a deep breath. And on the out breath, slowly let the bandhas take you up and back to downward dog. We'll be coming up to the hands, and you have the option of jumping or stepping into lunge. If today jumping feels good to you, hold here for several breaths, and then really flexing the pelvis so that you can take your tailbone over the shoulders as you jump. If today is a lunge day, draw the right knee in toward your chest. Take a deep inhale, secure the core, and on the out breath, let the core bring you forward into lunge. Lungers flex the pelvis, jumpers as well. Inhale here, press through the hands. On the exhale, we'll all meet up at the hands. Inhale to a long spine, blossom the heart. And then exhale, melting over the legs, forward bend. Bend your knees, drop your butt, ignite the feet. Take your hands up to your heart, Utkatasana, thunderbolt. So reset the bandhas in the feet. So here, going to do our standing figure 4 vinyasa. It's been a while. Take the pubic bone, lift it up toward your heart, and then really set the weight into the right foot. Come onto your left toes. Inhale here, lift that left knee. Exhale into figure 4. Take the left ankle just above the right knee. Hands at the heart. You can drop in a tiny bit, but if you do, the sitting bones draw back behind you. So there's a real length in the spine. Some of you may feel this in the hips. You can do a light isometric with your left ankle and the right knee. And now really find the bandhas, prepare for transition. Inhale, lift that knee. Start to take the leg behind you. It gets really strong. And then several breaths. Really engage the right foot bandha. You're coming up and over the legs with control. Really letting the bandhas guide you up and over. And when you get down there, fingertips to the mat. Reach out through the lifted leg. Take a deep breath. On the exhale, slowly bring it back into lunge. From your lunge here, pivot the back foot flat on the mat. Line up your heels for side angle pose. Take a breath, and on the exhale, draw the right forearm just above the right knee. Stack the shoulders, and then turn your gaze to the left wall. Here you can draw the left arm out to a T. Just make sure your stance is long enough so you've got some place to go, and then a little longer, Ruth. And then take that left arm a little bit toward the wall that you're looking at. Open the shoulder from the shoulder, nice Rochelle. And then let the hand line up with the shoulder. Knit the lower rib band in toward the back body, lift all the toes, excellent. And then the throat goes up and a little back. and then rest into my hand. Yeah, there you go. And then inhale here. On the out breath, lift it up and out to warrior two. Turn the palms up to the ceiling. We'll do our rhomboid work and a little sub-scaps. Inhale here, and on the out breath, lightly squeeze the arms back behind you. Good, lift the pubic bone, yep, inhale again. Exhale, squeeze it back, pubic bone lifts. Yeah, inhale here, open your front knee. Exhale, squeeze the arms back. One more, inhale again. Exhale, squeeze it back. Nice, and then from here, slowly extend your front leg long. Left hand comes to the left hip for triangle pose. Look at your right hand, take a deep breath in, and on the out breath, reach all the way out. And take your hand to the tall end of a block, and place the block to the outside of your right shin. So the block is there to keep a lot of length through the right side body. Activate the feet. Yeah, and you feel a little crunching in there. You take it because you're tall. Take the hand there and then carry that length all the way through there. Draw down here. That's it. And then left arm up to the ceiling if you'd like. Rest the weight onto the heels. Lift all your toes and gaze at the wall for your neck health. And then draw in the core. That's it. Nicely done. Under the, yeah. Last 3 breaths. Slide this back a little. And then inhale here. Turn slowly, look down. Now we have 2 choices, either half moon pose or we can stretch the hamstrings if half moon is not on your menu today. So to stretch the hamstrings, lift your back heel. Separate your feet hips width apart. Take blocks on the tall end under each hand. And then if you're coming up into half moon, draw your block about 6 inches in front of your right little toe. Inhale here, secure the right foot bandha. Keep that bandha just as you did in half standing split. And on the exhale, lift into Ardha Chandrasana. If the foot shifts a little, your focus has been there, you can reshift it. Now flex your top foot. If your standing foot has turned in a little in transition, turn it out. Yeah, and then really flex that lifted foot. Draw both heels away from one another. Into that space, ignite the core. Rotate a little that way. Beautiful. Nice, and then inhale. Turn slowly, look down, left fingers come to the mat, touch your half standing split, and then bend your standing leg, track that knee wide. On your next out breath, flow back into lunge. Good. Now here, line up your heels, or feet rather, yeah. The back heel stays high. No, it's gonna sound funky. Inhale, palms to the mat, and on the out breath, take the right foot back to meet the left one. All kinds of strange things are happening. Then pivot on the outside of your right foot. Keep your palms on the mat. Stack your feet. Half side plank, half front plank. Both palms come to the mat. Lift from the right side of the waist. And then inhale, lift all the way up. And exhale back to downward dog. Either stay as you are or rest in child's pose with a block under the forehead. Any end that works for you. If you're still in downward dog, really flex the hips. Tilt up through the sitting bones and then really support that action from the core so that you're deepening the pelvic vessel. When you're ready, when the body feels it's ready, curl the toes under and lift slowly up into downward dog. So preparing for Our same transition up to the hands. If today is still a jump day, hold for several breaths, ignite the bandhas, flex the hips so you keep that little anterior tilt of the spine. If it is a lunge day, draw the left knee in toward your chest. Take a deep breath, and on the exhale, slowly float forward into lunge. Lungers, get ready. Jumpers, ignite the bandhas. Inhale here. On the exhale, float up to the hands. Inhale, lift and open the heart, long spine. Exhale, over the legs, forward bend. And now bend your knees, drop the butt, hands come onto the lower abdomen for a moment, and then really ignite your foot bandha. Set your weight now into the left foot, come onto your right toes. Inhale, lift that right knee. Exhale, set the ankle just above your left knee. You can hold the bandhas if that helps, or bring the hands to the heart. It's really your body's choice. And then again, really almost arching the low back here to get the opening in the joint space. Now focus on the bandhas, prepare for transition. Inhale, lift that right knee, extend the leg behind you, immediately engage it. This is your rudder. And then coming up and over your standing leg, set your focus on one point. Try to keep your bottom foot releasing as much as possible. And then when you come to the ground, touching down. Inhale here, nice bend in. And on the exhale, slowly take it back into lunge. And pivot your back foot flat on the mat. Line up your heels for side angle pose, Parsva Konasana. And on the exhale, set the left forearm just a little higher than the knee. Stack your shoulders, and if you wish, you can draw that right arm up to the ceiling. Make sure that your back foot is angled a little toward the front wall, and just to protect the knee, and the back foot can go a little like that, good. And then your throat goes a little up and back. Gazing at the right wall, and then take the arm a little toward the wall you're looking at. Open the shoulder from the shoulder, and then let the hand go back in line with that opening. Last 4 breaths. Okay, feel how the joint is rotating this way. So if you like taking the arm over the ear, come down like so. Okay. Start to turn like this. Yeah, keep it rotating, open, open, open. And you feel where your body's telling you, oh, okay. Now draw the shoulder blade down the back, knit the core. Yeah, feel the difference there. Yeah. Last inhale. And then on the next out breath, lift up and out to warrior 2. And then bend your arms into cactus arms. Face your palms toward the wall that you're looking at. Face your gaze there as well. Now, it's not yet football season, but we're going to do the goalpost arms. So as you inhale, draw your forearms parallel to the floor. Use your shoulder joints to exhale, lift back up. Nice. Inhale, draw down. Keep the elbows steady and level. Exhale, lift back up. Shoulder blades draw down the back. Nice. Inhale, down. Exhale, lift up. Pubic bone lifts as well. Last one. Inhale, draw down. Exhale, back up. And then right hand to the right hip. Extend your left leg. Finally, inhale, reach out long through that left arm. Exhale, down into triangle pose. Adjust the front foot as you're coming. Good. And then from here, opening out. Nice. Make sure the pubic bone is lifting up toward your heart. Just to, really to let that open. And then remember all that. So this, try to breathe from your back and side ribs more. And do you feel how that wants to go like that? Knit it in, and now expand here. That's it. Yeah. Then from here, you can either come into the hamstring expansion or half moon pose. For hamstring expansion, lift your back heel, feet are hips width apart. Blocks under each hand for half moon. Take your block or your left fingers 6 inches ahead of your left pinky toe. Now, before coming right up, set your awareness into the left foot bandha. Keep it ignited and exhale, lift in and up. The knees draw away from one another. That top leg really engages as it has all morning when it's lifted. And then pubic bone draws up toward the heart. Now feel the opening in your pelvic vessel. Feel things blooming in there. Profusion of color and awareness. And then inhale. Turn slowly, look down, right fingers to the mat. Now bend your standing leg, track the lifted leg wide, take a breath. And on the exhale, come back into a narrow lunge. Then inhale here, palms to the mat. On the exhale, coming into plank pose with the feet together, and then you can lift it back to downward dog. And then we're coming into our funky plank on the other side. So pivot on the outside of your left foot, stack your feet. Feet should be kind of in the middle of the hands if possible. Then glide the shoulders over the wrist into plank in the arms. Then the left side of the waist has to lift extra here. Puff your throat. Very good, you guys. Good. A little more lift up. There you go. And then inhale, lift, and exhale all the way back to downward dog. Nice. Knees to the mat for dolphin pose. Take your blocks in an L shape at the front of your mat. The short side of one, long side of the other. That one's yours, yeah. And then here, you want them about as wide as the shoulders, and just the hands come to the sides of the block so that you have the wrists and fingers supported. Then line up your wrists, elbows, and shoulders. Curl the toes under. Press down through the forearms and lift up and back to dolphin. Here, there's often an impulse to press the shoulders down to the mat to deepen in, but to really expand and support the rotator cuff, we actually round a little bit. We puff the shoulders up so that we can breathe into the armpits. And so as you're here, really feel yourself rounding a little, puffing a little, and then bring the breath right into that sleepy space at the armpit area. Good. Couple more here. Lift up through the hip flexors. Nice. And then slowly release the knees down to the mat. Walk the knees back 12 inches. Knees are hips width apart. And then once again, round the upper spine. And on your next out breath, take your forehead toward your knees for funky child. As far as the forehead comfortably goes, rest your forehead on the mat. And then flex the hips, flex the shoulders. If you feel any shoulder pain, draw your shoulders a little bit forward of where they were. Really inhabit using the breath. How's it going here? You do feel constriction? Good. What happens when you squeeze in? Do you know? And then slowly round your upper spine. Take your shoulders up and over the elbows for dolphin plank. Here you have to readjust a little bit the elbows in. You can either stay in the karate chop or you can turn your palms up to the ceiling. And that gives you a little bit more lateral rotation, a little more opening in the shoulders. Either stay with the knees down, really working the bandhas, or lift the knees off the mat. And then once you do that, pubic bone really sets into play. Yes, feel those. Deep in the inhale and the exhale. I'll stay right with you. Puff and lift your throat. Good, Daniel, this is the best ever. And then inhale, draw forward. Exhale, release down to the mat. Nice, just rest your forehead on the block, elbows a little wide. And if your sinuses are a little bit stuck, a little clogged today, you can roll your head a little to the right. and a little to the left. At the same time, begin the work of drawing the pubic bone up toward your heart. We'll be doing our circle of heart opening, our subscap work in a moment. And then drawing the head back to center. Take the arms out to a T. Face your palms toward the front wall. And then from here, just rest the forehead on the floor. So the block is, for most of you, not so helpful. Take that space right at the bottom of the shoulder blades, subscap area, and traction it down toward your tailbone. Yeah. So really feel that action happen. Then the tailbone tucks toward the mat. On the front body, pubic bone draws up toward the heart, and then the pecs lift up and over the shoulders. You can either stay here working this way or lift your head, your chest, your arms. Yep, so come out to a T there, palms go forward. You could, don't worry about him, just take your arm right on top of his. Yeah, and then these guys go down the back. Yep, lift now up, head up. Yep, and just, and back of the head long, and just working those, yeah. And now we're gonna adjust you guys, yep. Yours go down like so, that's it, and then tuck your tailbone, yeah. Little less neck stuff, good. And now work the subscaps. Down, yeah, but not using your arms. Turn your palms this way. Now just isolate right there, right there, right there, right there. Yeah, do you feel them starting? And then slowly release. Slow, yeah, that's okay. And then slowly take your palms by your ribs, curl the toes under, and any way that feels right to your body today, lift up and draw back to downward dog. We'll be preparing to come into pigeon pose here, so draw your left knee in toward your chest. Take a deep breath. And on the exhale, glide forward for one breath in hanging plank. And then draw the left knee down by the left hand, the foot by the groin. Take some blanket, pad your left sitting bone so that you really feel here that if the sitting bone is not on the mat, just bringing either a blanket or some block to fill that space. And then coming down onto the forearms, you can either interlace your fingers or you can bring your arms into dolphin-like position. And the idea here is that to take the pressure off that front knee, take your palms into the mat and push the mat or floor forward. And that sends the weight away from your front knee toward the wall behind you. So for any knee issues, really helpful way of working with that, of protecting the knee. And then here, really being conscious, being aware of the breath. This is the one that's healing, yes? Do you feel any tightness or pain in it now? Yeah, try that iso. So really push everything forward and it will take the weight, it will draw it back. Do you feel how that removes some of the pressure? Yeah. Last 3 breaths. Moving into therapeutic ujjayi, where the exhale is a little deeper, a little longer than the inhale. And then slowly walk your hands toward you. Sit onto your left side, swing your right leg forward. And then cross your ankles, flex your feet. Now this is our cross-legged Navasana. Take your hands underneath the backs of the knees for the moment. And think of this as a bus ride. You can get off at your stop. So this may be enough today, just lifting up and out of the pelvis. If you decide you'd like to balance, lift the heels, squeeze the knees together. And if this is accessible, start to knit your heels in toward your sitting bones, hands to the heart. So the closer in you go, the more core action happens. Squeeze your knees together, Nice, last 2 breaths, open the throat. Good, and then slow release. Widen your heels, take your palms to the mat, lift or jump up and back to downward dog. And then preparing to come in on the other side. So right knee draws in toward your chest, secure the core, take a deep breath, and on the exhale, 1 breath in hanging plank. Just make it last, and then draw the right knee down to the mat, pad the right bum with a little blanket. So thinking about that metaphor of opening a vessel, our own creative, generative source of inspiration. And whether it's writing or art or creation or teaching, parenting, we access that vessel slowly, gently, with permission. So really that's where the support comes in under the sitting bone. It allows that access to be gradual. Use your arms to press the mat forward, sending your weight toward your back heel, nice. And then very slowly, walk your hands towards you. Lift up in the heart. Sit onto your right butt cheek. Swing your left leg forward. Grab a block. And we'll come into cross-legged Navasana with the block. So, crossing the legs. The block can go either the short way in or the long way, just depending on your comfort. You'll get the same effect both ways. And then kind of binding in toward you. You'll see that you don't want it binding in so much that the block is in your abdomen. And then hands to the heart, or heels on the mat is okay too. Really lift your heart. Now the more you squeeze, the more the flexors release. Change the cross. Bind in tight to your bum. Slowly release. Take a half tabletop, so just a little baby stretch to release the flexors, and then lower in. So now we'll be approaching Agni Stambhasana, fire log pose. For those of you that feel that this pose is difficult or hard to access, take a blanket under the sitting bones. So start with a little elevation there, and then front shin, which will be your left one, goes parallel to the front of the mat. The right one goes on top of the left. And if you feel like, wow, my knee is way up here, take a block to support that leg, and maybe another block or blanket under the bottom leg. So it's really not about like, I gotta get my leg in there and I gotta open everything. It's about really listening to where the hips are today. So then from here, we have a double isometric. You can see how this top foot wants to twist a little bit, and so the sole of the foot is exposed. This, to really protect the knee, the foot wants to be extended through the inseam. So take your left hand underneath it, and the left hand's just resting on the calf of your bottom leg. Now the right hand goes directly into the back of your right calf, right up to the back of the knee, and it starts to press that calf toward the front wall. So the directional is forward toward me. You guys will feel that flexors, they almost engage. It almost feels like, man, this is intense, for about 2 breaths, and then it should release a little bit. You can also press the bottom calf toward the front wall, but just making sure you have support. So that top leg is not hanging in midair, but rather supported by something anchored, either block or blanket. If coming forward is accessible to you, you can do that now. Again, watch that top ankle. The foot wants to really flex. There you go, Lindsay, good. I think, are you longer here than you are in the upper leg? I am too. So take the bottom foot a little forward. Yeah, and this heel will never cross the thigh like you see with some people, but it can go right here maybe. Okay. Yeah, and then this guy, yeah. And I would actually double the blanket under you. I'll do that so you can lift up. And now therapeutic ujjayi, longer, deeper exhale. Better? Yeah. And then lengthen up. Have you tried twisting? Take your right elbow to the sole of your right foot. If you're all the way down, take the right elbow to the sole of the right foot. Hands at the heart, twist. Have you tried that twist? Yeah. Little iso between the elbow and the sole of the foot. Last 3 breaths, really make them long, deep, but also luminous. And then slowly make your way up and out. So one option for you is a seated figure 4-2, lengthening up through the lumbar, and you might like that better. It's still external rotation. Extend both legs long for a long spine forward bend. So here you can use a strap, you can use a piece of clothing, you can use your hands. And we know that sometimes the idea is the further down you get toward the floor, the better. So you flop over, that's a good forward bend, but that usually isolates the back of the knee, and we want to get the hamstring open right at the pelvic vessel, since we're interested in harvesting that vessel. So take the flesh or whatever you have there out from the sitting bones, and then moving forward with the heart, with a long spine, you can hold on to the lower foot. You can hold on to the ankles. If it's accessible, you can take your hands just under the balls of the feet, but then really leading forward with the heart. So we're not trying to get all the way down, but rather lifting up. And then engage the thighs a little bit. If the outer flexors grip for you, you can take the feet with a slight bit of turnout, and you'll find that neutralizes. But again, long, super long spine. And if you have a strap or a piece of clothing, resist the urge to pull on it, because that sometimes can close the heart. So we want open heart, open throat. And then release your hands, slide your hands behind the leg, just above the knee, and just give the hamstrings a little squeeze where they insert into the back of the knee. This often gets a little tight in Agni Stambhasana. And then lift all the way up, coming in on the other side. So then the right shin will be the bottom one here. Left goes on top of the right. And then really setting that bottom shin parallel to the front of your mat. Take it out the foot forward, Roseanne. Bottom one. Yeah. And so it's easy to start in a cross-legged position, but then the knees are so wide it's hard to get into full position. Narrow your knees even more. And then slowly take your hand underneath, so the right hand holds the right calf. Palm can go down. Yeah, and then that is a little, and that right hand makes a cushion for your ankle. And then take your left hand into the back of your knee, right up into the back of the knee, right into, kind of wedge it in there, and then press the calf forward. You feel that? Mm-hmm. Is it tolerable? You have no elevation. Do you want to try it? You want me to bring the blanket behind you?
Yeah.
And now start your therapeutic ujjayi. I got you. There we go. Nice. I like that better. Yeah. And take the bottom foot forward. And you'll feel a momentary like, I don't think I can get in there. And now look, it's dropping. Good, Teresa. If you're coming forward, you can move into your twist. That's really nice. And then one thing you can do is take that hand a little closer to your low back. Yeah, still pointing back. And then your left thumb into the crease of your hip. Yeah, it's hard to and then neutralize it forward. That may not help, in which case both hands can go back behind it. Yeah, and just let the knee begin to slowly. It's not going to try to go forward, but rather out that way. So I would almost take the foot not so far over this way. Yeah. Does that make it harder? No. Good. Yeah, you're welcome. And you can always use this, like if you do this at home, under your bum. Twisting for anyone who's twisting, last few breaths. Yeah. Twisting here, take that elbow right there, and then hands come to the heart, just like, yeah, there we go. All right, slowly releasing. Support that left knee, extend the leg. Support the right leg, extend it as well. And then take one of your blocks behind you for tabletop, also known as reverse plank. And it goes about 8 inches behind you. Thumbs sketch the back edge, fingertips sketch the side edge. If you wish to today, you can come in with bent legs like so, or you bring your toes together and the toes will actually touch the mat, lifting up, drawing back. And then really lifting and opening with the heart. And then on your next out breath, slowly lowering down to the mat. Take your block in your hand, but bend your knees. And actually we'll put the block right in between the thighs. Hands hold the backs of the legs. And then you'll slowly roll down, one vertebra at a time. And when you come to lying down, really using your core, take this block, and it's going underneath your sacrum the long way. Make sure your strap or your clothing is nearby. And we'll be doing our supine hamstring stretch, but using the block underneath the pelvis to extend the hip flexors of the other leg. So starting with bent legs, that right leg draws up toward the ceiling, and then you can take your strap or your whatever you have creatively decided to use, put it just underneath the ball of the foot, and rather than super flexing that foot, extend up through the ball. So front of the ankle relaxes, and then slowly extend your left leg long and lightly flex your left foot, but your left foot stays on the mat. Left foot is down, right foot is up, and then have a look at your pelvis. So we've been focusing there all day. If your pelvis is tipping up toward your heart, just scoot a little forward on the block. Oh, it will be easier if we take it and switch it like so. Feel that? Yeah. And so the idea here is that your pelvis is like I'll use the word basin. I think we've had enough vessel. And imagine that it's filled with nectar, the nectar of creativity. And none of that nectar wants to spill. So if you feel it tipping, slide a little bit. Yeah, and you can either move entirely toward your feet. Yeah, there we go. And then extended leg, thigh rotates in, nice. And then really engage the quad of that lifted leg. Lengthen the inseam, nice, Rochelle. So that you have a nice long inner and outer seam. Press up lightly with your right foot into the ball. Yep. And then relax this, Lindsay, lift up there. And then lengthen through here. Yeah. Last 4 breaths. Good. Yep. Nice. Take that shoulder, ground it. Mm-hmm. And slowly release. Slide your left leg toward you. Lower the right one. Take the strap underneath the left leg. This is best done on the low end of the block. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And then start to extend. You may need to change positions a little. Then this block, if it goes the lengthwise down your body, it's easier to adjust under the pelvis. Yeah. Lifting up the left leg, lengthen through the ball of the foot. That's not very tight. False advertising on your hamstring. Yeah. And then extend your right leg long, flex the right foot. Take the top of the flexors, roll them in a little. Mm-hmm. And then check the pelvic basin. See that it's parallel to the mat. All that nectar flourishing and growing. Yeah. And then extend through there, lengthen up through there. Yeah. Take the pelvis and draw it toward your extended foot. Yeah. Yeah. And then lengthen more up through here. And then point a little. And now lengthen the inseam. So, yeah. It's almost like the dancer's thing is expressing itself a little. Okay, undo that. Yeah, there. You feel that just kind of released a little back here. You might not have felt it. Last few. I'm going to move this leg a little, Jackie, to the side there, and then roll it in. And really reach out through that leg, and then really reach out through that one. There we go. And then slowly release. Slide your right leg toward you. And then just a few moments in supported bridge, both legs bent. Arms can come out either to cactus arms or arms in a T. Just really allowing the lymph to release down. If you're on this guy, just rotate it. Yeah, it feels like it should be less supportive. It's actually more nice. Yeah, it's tractions. And then we'll switch this a little wide. There we go. That's okay. And then go wide across the sacrum. Yeah. So block is wide across the sacrum. Yeah, a little more supportive under there, just switching. And then feeling what your body would like for Shavasana. You can do hamstring Shavasana, heart opening Shavasana, legs up the wall, or face down, whatever works best for your body today. And when you feel what that might be, slowly coming up and beginning to build in that Shavasana. So the face down is kind of grounding and closing. The face up is heart opening. Hamstring Shavasana releases the hamstrings. Which one sounds best to you?
I'm going to do face that part.
Heart opening? Yeah. So for the heart opening one, you take your blanket, and I'll do yours for you. Fold it once the long way, a second time the long way, a third time the long way. So you have a long and thin fold. Then you set that blanket behind you on the mat. Hopefully it behaves itself on the way down. Depending on how many times they've been folded, they may not want to. And the rounded edge kind of goes toward the back of your mat. And then laying over it, so the bottom of the shoulder blade is elevated, tops of the shoulder blades are on the mat. So come back toward me a little more. Keep going until you feel these ground down. Yeah. And then the arms go out just above the fold of that flap. And if you wish, you can take the top of the fold, close it, and kind of wrap it over the lower rib band in a pose that Lindsay has named Burrito Asana.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then either extend the legs out in a V, or if you are prone to any low back stuff, just rest with your knees bent, soles of your feet on the mat. You want the heart opening one, yeah? Or yeah, okay. Yeah, and then arms can go above that fold, yeah. You want to wrap? And then just letting the front of your body melt into the back of your body, and the back of your body drop into the mat. Feeling the hips release and open. I'm going to change the angle of your blocks just a tad to match, yeah. And then following your exhale, further and further inward for the remainder of your practice. If you're going to face down here, this guy goes directly under the abdomen. So we take both ends, yeah, and so it won't be cutting into your ribs. It's kind of between, just above the pubic bone to the lower rib band. Yeah. feel different. Yeah. And so it kind of tractions the sacrum that way. Yeah. So technically, unless there's something I don't know about, this wants to go under your abdomen.
Oh, it's getting.
That's okay. Yeah, so it tracks.
Like right under the ribs.
It shouldn't hit them. It should be, just underneath. And then what you'll find here is that gentle tractioning in the sacrum. Like so. Yeah. Very slowly allowing your awareness to drift just a little bit up to the surface. Moving your fingers and your toes. And if you'd like to stay as you are and om from the ground up, as always, you can do so. If your body is ready to transition up to sitting, you can do that as well, bending your knees slowly or rolling onto your side. And then just slowly making the transition up to sitting. And gathering the hands together at the heart. And as you inhale and exhale, really feeling awareness of that opening of the space in the pelvis, of that generativity and growth there. And then from that space, we'll take 3 ohms to open our practice off the mat. Inhaling. Still retaining the vibration of Om in your fingers and throughout your awareness. And draw your hands to the center of your forehead and surrender to that infinite, mystical, and creative space that dwells within us and in everything around us. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. So, happy vessel exploration. And I also want to just take a moment to honor another community that is not with us, but that is the Be Present community in Colorado, John and Amy, who have sent us clothing and supported our work and been behind our online course and everything that we've done here for a long time. So whether you actually wear their clothes or are only just learning about them, it is their 10th anniversary today, so I thought we would wish them a happy birthday. So from our community here in Boston to Amy and John, we want to wish you happy birthday on a count of 3. 1, 2, happy birthday, Be Present. Namaste. And anything you want to do crazy on your mat, if you're wearing Be Present, go for it. Including Shavasana.